Poor Cooper. He already had a hard enough decision to make, whether or not he has the right to take down the bad guy by himself, but now, he doesn't even know who the bad guy is. Welcome to Lindsay's Fallout, where I'll be damned, people actually do want to hear me talk down my dinosaur with my idealistic pedantry. So let's keep this train rolling, because the only thing an autistic person might love more than a dinosaur is a train. But you bet your ass we'd get that monorail running on a schedule.
Always bothered me, the imprecision.
This channel is a spoiler minefield, but most certainly skip this video until you are caught up to Season 2, Episode 5 of the Fallout TV show. You'll see the comment policy right up there on the screen, pause to read it, and from there you can call me Jason Bright because we are off to the great beyond. Without a doubt, this week's episode carries on our theme of comparing goodness to obedience. It is a karma hit bonanza. Let's rip this band-aid off straight away. The Ghoul is not dead. The Ghoul is not dead. The Ghoul is not dead. We've seen clips of him in trailers. After this, he's not dead. The question on our minds should be how the fuck is he gonna survive this, because goddamn. Let's also quickly clear up something that I was wrong about. Well, okay, I wasn't wrong per se. It was a misunderstanding. In a previous video, I said there is no way that Vault-Tec would sell Cold Fusion to Mr. House, but I misunderstood what they meant by selling Cold Fusion, and I have a feeling I'm not the only person who's been confused about this, because I think this same misunderstanding is why people thought it was a retcon or a lore break that Vault-Tec didn't have Cold Fusion because it was obviously used in the Gek. So here's the crux of the misunderstanding and what's going on. Okay, so there's Cold Fusion as in the technology, the information, the understanding, the intellectual property of how to make the thing work. And then there is the MacGuffin, the object, this device that apparently creates enough power to light up the boneyard. So there's the technology, which is information and how to do the thing, and then there is the object. So when Kate said that Vault-Tec was selling Cold Fusion to Mr. House, it is now clear that she was talking about the object, the MacGuffin, the artifact, not how to do the thing. So in my video when I said there's no way, I was like, there's no way that Vault-Tec would give up the intellectual property, the rights to capitalize on Cold Fusion to Mr. House. But that's not what they were doing. They were selling the thingy, which Mr. House wanted to use, apparently, to power his warheads and his eternal life tube. So Vault-Tec would still be retaining the rights, the intellectual property, the power to do with Cold Fusion what they see fit. They were not giving that up to Mr. House. Hope that makes sense. So let's talk about Mr. House. Hopefully, this episode finally has provided the antidote to the plague on both your houses. We know who the real house is, and the other guy is a hired proxy, Rafi Silver, who is an admitted Fallout YouTube nerd. Can somebody send him my shit, please? Thank you. But no, these two houses are not alike in dignity. In fair pre-war Vegas, where we lay our scene, Anthony House is not involved. I'm expecting to hear from people that I was right about this, but I think this is one of those examples where I don't think I made a prediction that was correct. I think it was pretty on the nose. Like, I didn't predict that the Ghoul was gonna rescue Lucy. I think it was pretty obvious that he was gonna do that, but hey, if people have reasons to think I'm smart, sure, fuck it, I'll take it. Cooper's decision of whether or not to take down House got a lot more complicated in this scene. In a previous episode, I said the problem with being a vigilante is the hubris. How do you, as a dipshit individual, know that your take on who should live and who should die is more aligned with reality than the take of democracy, law, civilization, people whose full-time jobs are to determine who's a problem, etc., etc. Cooper's already grappling with the fact that he can't take his wife's word for it. He can't take the government's word for it. So why the hell should he take Kate's word for it? Kate just said House wants Cold Fusion for weapons, weapons bad, he wants to blow up the world. But no, House wants to fire weapons at the bombs that will target the Strip. He says the Cold Fusion MacGuffin will help him stay alive in roboticized, non-biological form and protect Las Vegas from the coming nuclear war. And this is consistent with Fallout New Vegas. +1 for the lore thumpers. Except for, I guess, the non-biological part, but maybe I'm overthinking what he means by non-biological. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. The point is, Cooper's moral conundrum is now significantly more complicated. The question is no longer, does he or does he not have the right to kill the bad guy? He's feeling like the whole world has to answer right now just to tell him once again who's bad. If you're not leaning on a doctrine or an overlord or a covert narcissist or a mind control implant in the back of your neck, you have to decide for yourself who's bad, what's bad, and what to do about it, and that's a lot of responsibility. So Cooper did exactly what the majority of the population does when they are confronted with such a responsibility. He called the person who gave him cognitive dissonance crazy and went and got shit-faced. Cooper looked at this guy and was like, he's saying shit that doesn't fit into my understanding of reality reality whatsoever, and he's wearing a silly hat. He's a lunatic, and I'm out. Y'all be careful when you call somebody crazy, because when you do, what you're actually saying is this person's behavior is not in alignment with reality as I know it, therefore it is irrelevant and not worth understanding. Calling them crazy is an escape strategy. It's a way to dismiss yourself, to opt out of anything resembling a constructive conversation about the crazy behavior. If you don't want to dig any deeper than just, he's crazy, you're boring and useless. Anytime anyone is engaging in any behavior whatsoever, there is a reason they are engaging in that behavior. And if it can impact your life, your loved ones, it is worth understanding no matter how crazy it is. I'm not saying that you are morally compelled to understand. I'm saying get out of the way when other people do. I'm saying your unwillingness to understand is not a failure of the person that you don't understand. It is not anyone else's responsibility to squeeze themselves into your limited worldview. Those of you who are queer or neurodivergent know what I'm talking about. If other people don't understand us, it's their job to expand, not our job to mask and suppress ourselves. Cooper called House a lunatic and went and got trashed for the same reason real people do it every day, to avoid a responsibility that he is ill-equipped to handle. We'd have a lot less judgment and alcoholism in this world if we supported each other. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And to anybody out there who hated Mr. House's funny hat because it was embarrassing and cringe, I'm gonna be hard dick for a second. Cringe is a pitiful reason to not like something. You think Mr. House gives a shit how stupid he looks in that hat? No, Mr. House cares about progress. It's Proxy House's job to not be cringe. House can be as cringe as he wants. Cringe happens when the empathy centers of your brain are telling you that you would be embarrassed and therefore threatened if you were seen the way you see this cringe. It means that your highest value is public opinion, not whether or not you're in danger, not whether or not you're brave, not whether or not you're doing good, not what the consequences of your actions are, just how it looks to other people. If you care more about looking good than being good, you're gonna get exactly the world you're asking for. This episode even brings us back to that congresswoman. Remember the one that wouldn't take bribes? She's making an ass of herself. Cooper helps her up, and we got another classic Fallout banger line of dialogue. She says, "Fighting the good fight is mostly a series of humiliations." Damn right it is. Care about being good more than you care about not looking cringe, and you will find yourself on the right side of history, assuming you don't define the right side the same way that Caesar's Legion would. But let's talk about what this episode introduces to the TV show interpretation of Mr. House's character, because I would argue that we're taking a step closer to the House that we know from the games. Now, I was more or less okay with the idea that Mr. House was behind the bombs, which is how things were looking until now. In the game, his attitude was that the end of the world was inevitable, and his primary interest was in protecting and taking care of the Strip. In fact, he specifically says that he never had any hope of saving the world. So when the show was starting to make it look like he had a hand in destroying the world, I was like, that's new, but sure. If he thought the pre-war world was hopeless, maybe he would be willing to have a hand in wiping the surface clean, so to speak. But the idea that he is nervous because there are nefarious forces that are one step ahead of him and that he doesn't have the amount of control and understanding that he needs to believe he has is a hell of a lot juicier. Believing that there is one big bad villain and all we have to do to save the world is to get rid of that one fucking guy is a hell of a lot easier to grapple with than what Cooper Howard is grappling with right now. Mr. House was never an ice-cold big bad. The thing that has always made him so fascinating is that he truly believes he is doing what's best for mankind. He's willing to overpower people, but it was always a means to an end, and that end has always been progress. But he can't walk mankind into progress if he doesn't have total control, which he won't have if he doesn't have all the information. Mr. House's self-preservation system is calibrated to the belief that he is the man who knows, and the man who knows is entitled to control all the things because of all the things he knows. And as we saw in this episode, it brings him great anxiety to come upon evidence that he does not. If you watched my Are They Addicted video, let's recap. If somebody's self-preservation system, their ego, is attached to certain ideas about themselves, about the world, or a dependence on a substance, what are they trying to replace? Human connection, trust. Mr. House is lonely. He's the loneliest man in the world. No singular human being should have to put the amount of pressure on themselves that this man is. No one person should have to know everything. That is a responsibility that is supposed to be shared amongst members of a safe, trusting, connected community that looks out for its collective interests. If you watch my Benny and House video on my Dinstopia channel, I go into a lot more detail about this, that the tragedy of Mr. House is his inability to escape the necessity of human connection and human trust. He tried his hardest to avoid it, but everybody's always trying to kill him, Benny betrayed him, and he love bombs the shit out of the courier because he needs a human. You can have all the money in the world, you can be the smartest person in the world, you can build an army of robots, but you will need to trust another person eventually. So let's talk about Mr. House's hypocrisy though, because this is a specific kind of hypocrisy that comes up a lot in the Fallout franchise, and it's called out very specifically on the show multiple times. This is when we're getting into the game theory type stuff that we've talked about before, but here's your vocab word homework. Look up the concept of a multipolar trap. Kate has an excellent line of dialogue that ties this up in a bow better than I ever could. This is in season 1, episode 7. She says, "Hypocrisy is like violence in your movies. If you only let the bad guys use it, the bad guys win. This is exactly the logic behind the Cold War. This is why the United States made the atomic bomb, so that the Nazis didn't have it first. Hank doesn't want to live in a violent world, but he doesn't believe a peaceful world is possible until all the violent people are wiped out. The Brotherhood of Steel thinks that old world technology is what destroyed the planet, and yet they believe they have the right to take it and use it however they want, as long as no one else is. And Mr. House is repulsed by slavery. In New Vegas, if you kill Mr. House for the Legion, he's not as upset that he lost as he is that his understanding of what goodness is lost.
Slavery! The future of mankind! What have you done?
And yet, if he thinks slapping a mind control device on the back of somebody's neck is what's necessary to create a world without slavery, that's just a karma hit. That's just making ass jerky. Remember what Hank said when he was trying to explain why he did what he did to Lucy. He knows what he did was ugly. He just believes that you have to do ugly things to prevent other people from doing even uglier things. This is why I'm always telling you guys that if you have to take karma hits, don't fall into the trap of believing it's not bad just because you had to do it and you don't want to be bad. Everyone alive in the modern world has to be a little hypocritical sometimes, and anyone who believes they aren't just isn't examining their shit. If you have to take a karma hit, investigate its impact to the best of your ability. There's a big damn leap between Norm lying to Bud's buds and Hank blowing up a damn town. Right and wrong just isn't a set of clean and simple rules, unfortunately. You gotta think about it. I'm sorry. This is the Funky Deathclaw Strut moment, reminding you to like and subscribe. Speaking of karma hits, what a great segue to Lucy! The Ghoul tells Lucy that if she wants to kick her addiction, she's gonna need a dick doll. As amusing as it may have been to see her be a drug addict all season, we're done with that gag, it's time to move on. And I sure do love when they can work a game mechanic into the story in a way that makes sense. So she sees that a dick doll has been marked up to 1,000 caps, and that sudden markup is a nice little bit of foreshadowing for what's about to happen. That the shop is under new management. So she decides to do what so many of us have decided to do in the game, take the karma hit, steal some shit. She is adapting. Now at the time she decided to go into sneak mode, she still believed that she was up against somebody like Ma June, an honest business owner. That is until that perception score of 7 kicked in, and she noticed the picture of what the store owner is supposed to look like, that store owner was naked and dead in a drum nearby, and that the guy currently running the shop is wearing clothes that are clearly not his size. Now personally, I'm not sure if I agree with Lucy's special stats. I think her perception score is much more likely to be 6 and that one of those points really needs to move into agility, but what do I know? So the person she would have felt bad for stealing from is not the guy standing in front of her. He's dead in the drum. Stealing the power fist and the addict doll is not nearly the karma hit of murdering a guy and taking over his store. Lucy just wanted to steal some shit. She didn't want to kill a guy, but fake Sonny pulled a gun on her and bam, she killed a guy. First time killing a guy. I mean, we could talk about the ghouls, but whoa, that would be a hell of a tangent. And when that lady walks into the shop and asks, "Who are you?" weren't you just dying for her to look up and say, "Sonny, I guess"? But no, if you play Fallout 76, you know there is only one Sonny. But no, sticking with the theme, sticking with her whole journey, she says she doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know what she follows, Courier. She is becoming a different animal altogether. But when we're looking at this part, what I want to remind y'all of is what we've been saying about justice. What Norm said to the Coverseers back in season 1, episode 3. He said, "I'm glad to hear that we punish people down here for breaking the rules. Is that just for Vault Dwellers or for people who come down here and murder Vault Dwellers?" The idea is people are more likely to follow the rules in an environment where everyone is expected to follow the rules. And what Lucy did here is she crimed against a criminal. She killed a guy and stole a couple things, but the guy she killed a guy and stole the entire shop. Outside of the cushy confines of a vault, and arguably in the real world, being the bigger person actually makes you the smaller person. That's the multipolar trap idea. If there's a line you will not cross to win, then the person who is willing to cross that line will win. If there isn't a force more powerful than you both to provide justice, to punish badness and reward goodness, badness will reign supreme. Speaking of badness reigning supreme, let's go on a bit bit of a tangent and use Amazon as an example. This might be more appropriate for my Culture War Never Changes video where I talk about Fallout show being on Amazon and whether or not that's hypocritical, but I already started recording that and it's like 20 minutes long. It's ridiculous. So fuck it. Let's just do this one Amazon thing here. Did you know that there are real people in this real world whose full-time job is to do nothing but steal from Amazon? This is a fact. There's probably a bunch of different ways to do it, but an example that I definitely know about is folks who hack the accounts of Amazon customers, order a bunch of stupid shit, ship it to themselves, and then the customer reports it to Amazon and Amazon just gives them a refund. So in the end, it doesn't cost the customer anything. Amazon just pays for it. Amazon knows people are doing this. They factor it into their expenses because it would cost them more to figure out a way to stop people from doing this than it is to just pay for it. Now, why wouldn't people mind taking a karma hit like this? Well, let's look at the kind of shit Amazon does. Do you remember a store called Toys R Us? My generation sure does. They still exist, but they certainly aren't what they were. Toys R Us made a deal with Amazon to sell their toys on Amazon's platform. Amazon wasn't supposed to sell toys from any other retailer. It was an exclusivity deal. Did Amazon honor that deal? Of course not. They're Amazon. They do whatever they want. And Toys R Us fought back, and they sued, and they won. And yet, Toys R Us ended up bankrupt, and Amazon kept rolling out their 2-day shipping without missing a beat. Amazon made more money betraying Toys R Us than they lost from taking the consequences of that betrayal. This is why professional thieves don't mind stealing from Amazon. They don't respect rule of law that lets Amazon get away with the kind of shit it does. And if Amazon isn't putting a stop to those card skimmers, they most certainly give even less of a shit about what I'm saying in this video. And they don't give a shit about what the Fallout TV show says about corporations. Dang, maybe I should just copy and paste this section and put it in that Culture War Never Changes video. But the point here is that puritanical goodness puts you at a severe disadvantage if you're in an environment full of people who value winning more than goodness. So if you're assessing whether or not you should do a bad thing, whether or not you should take a karma hit, do not analyze the goodness or the badness of the action in a vacuum. You have to factor in the amount of power that you have and the amount of damage your karma hit is gonna do. I might be taking a karma hit by supporting an Amazon show, but in the grand scheme of things, what fucking difference does it make? If Toys R Us couldn't make a dent with that lawsuit, an individual's protest of an Amazon show is fucking meaningless. We gotta save our hero energy for where it counts. And what do you know? Look at that. I told you that if Norman the Ghoul took the karma hit of lying, that reality would win and the chickens would come home to roost. Granted, I do think that this is another situation where I didn't have a genius prediction that came true. The writing was on the wall. I'll tell you what I do feel kind of smug about though. My chicken reference was kind of random, but then when Lucy saw the Deathclaw egg, she was like, "How big do your chickens get?" And the Ghoul's like, "Those aren't chickens." Not as funny as the Rad Scorpion thing, but tickled me nonetheless. So everyone who told me that the Ghoul was using Lucy to bargain with Hank was correct. He has now admitted it. He is tasked to bring Lucy back home to safety, back to Vault 33, and in return, Hank will kindly not kill his family. How nice of him. Remember a long time ago, Lucy asked the Ghoul, "Why do you live like this? Why do you keep going?" This is why. His family is why. He's not out there for the love of the game because he wants to be a cool lone wolf badass. He wants his family. He wants the same thing that I say everyone wants. Love and connection. But the reason people don't value that, don't prioritize that, or are afraid to have that is exemplified right here. Vulnerability. This right here is why governments want people to have kids. This is why gay people and alternative lifestyles are always targeted, despite the fact that the most level-headed Republicans are even going, "But what they're doing in their private life is none of my business." If you don't have kids, you don't have as much to lose by challenging authority. As a childless lesbian, I can get on the internet and talk as much shit as I want, and I don't have to worry about how that's gonna impact my kids. I could quit my job and devote myself to any social justice cause that I want. The world is my baby, baby. I told y'all way back in the first episode, right before Hank leaves with Moldaver, and he's talking to Lucy through the little window. What does he say? He says, "You are my world." And I said, "Nuh-uh, that's your daughter. The world is your world. Your child should not be your world. They should be your child." Remember when I pointed out that the air is even more so a part of Lucy than her finger is? Because she can do without the finger, can't do without the air, right? It makes no sense to march blindly into collective destruction on behalf of your kids, because your kids are gonna sink on that ship too. People are told to go to war, to fight for their kids. But are they fighting for the state, for their kids? Or did the state urge them to have kids so that they would fight for the state? I mean, think about it. Every other bit of cultural messaging makes it clear they don't want more mouths to feed, they don't want more houseless people, they don't want to pay for more Medicare or Medicaid, but bitches better make babies, and birth control and abortions are social disasters. Other than babies, they have no interest in people that can't work jobs. Why? Because they just care about down-home values so much? Because of the Bible? Keep up, we talked about this. The Bible is there to control bumbling bottoms. It's about power. It's about giving you a vulnerability that they can exploit. The Ghoul wandered the wasteland, eating people for 200 years for his kid. Hank blew up Shady Sands, literally stepped on people and blew people's brains apart for his kids. Barbara was willing to play a direct role in the end of the world for her kid. People will do fucking anything for their kids. They will do a lot for money, but for their kids, there is no limit. And if all of this is reminding you of The Last of Us, good, you're paying attention. If you've got kids, don't let these bastards use them against you. Show your kids what bravery and forethought looks like. Show them how to love the world as a part of themselves, because that's exactly what it is. Think carefully before going to war for your kids, because war is never about love. War is about defense. Defense is about fear, and fear is the opposite of love. Loving your kids and fearing danger coming to your kids are not the same thing. When you face your children's enemies, your back is turned on your children. If you gotta fight, fight, but know who you follow, career. Learn everything you fucking can about the context of the battle you're fighting, and if it really serves your family, or if it serves some bastards who are using you like a pawn in their war game. Make love, not war, y'all, because war never changes, but love changes everything. Some quick lore explore stuff, some speculation, not really a hope or a prediction, but just something I'm throwing out there. In the flashback, I think that the Deathclaw killed the commies but left Cooper alone because he and Cooper are on the same side. It's like an Alien 3 situation. The monster leaves the home team alone. There's oodles of lore supporting the idea of training Deathclaws. So if that's where they're going with this, it would make sense that Deathclaws are running around the strip and not busting the gates down to terrorize Freeside because they're on guard protecting House, who is still alive in the Lucky 38. I didn't really like the idea of House still being alive, but that's where it seems to be going, and another reason I think that is Victor. Victor was super vague about whether or not House is still alive, and I think if House were dead, Victor would either be destroyed or aimless, wandering the desert, but he's not aimless, he is stationed, he is watching the NCR. I think House is in hibernation mode again, the same way he was before he got the tribals to become the 3 families, and Victor is out there keeping an eye on the NCR to collect data and determine when House should make his comeback. So what do y'all think? Let me know in the comments. Community section. So if the video's old, this is gonna be out of date. I am live streaming again this Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. I'm so sorry for those of you that time doesn't work, but it's more realistic for me. I was on for 6 freaking hours last time. That's ridiculous. We can't do that again. But rest assured, I'll be on for a long ass time because it was super fun. The time freaking flew. Come with questions. I loved answering questions, especially questions about the ideas. Like if there's anything that I talked about that you kind of felt I could explain better, I would love for you guys to point out my hypocrisies. If I ever say things in 2 different videos that seem to contradict, bring that to the chat. Let's figure it out. It sharpens my mind. So this is the plan for now, to do one of these videos and a live stream every week, and posting other posts as ideas come to mind. Things like polls. We did a poll for the next non-TV episode video topic, and y'all, I'm not gonna lie, I have already recorded Culture War Never Changes and the Ghoul Sea Ship thing. I actually already had the Ghoul Sea Ship thing recorded before I even posted the poll. I thought more people were gonna want that, but now it looks like people are bringing up other things around the Ghoul Sea thing, and I might do some more investigation and flesh that out. And Culture War Never Changes is already 20 minutes long, and I still have other stuff that I want to add, but who knows when you're gonna see those. But you'll definitely get a TV show video a week until the season is over. I'm rambling. I'll see you on Saturday. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Until next time.
If you have to go out, take a gun in the lab, 'cause everybody knows there's a devil in camp. Ow!